Hey guys, and thank you for joining us in the first of our SleepyCast podcasts. And I'm joined here today by the one, the only, Jordan.
Hello, my name's Jordan, as you heard. Pleased to be here. Let's see how this podcast goes.
Pleased to have you, Jordan, pleased to have you. Now, back to me. So, today what we're going to be talking about is ghosts. And experiences, stories, theories, and maybe even a little bit of evidence if we're lucky.
Spooky.
Spooky wooky. So, personal experiences, stories you've heard. Jordan, do you want to take it away?
Right, so, as I said, I've got no personal experience of my own, but I have heard of my parents. My mum, she works in a residential home. And as the story goes, one day it was late at night. She was doing the laundry, and she swears to this day that she saw a ghost walk by the door. As I say, I'm skeptical myself, obviously having never seen a ghost. But we'll, if that's what she says she saw, it's what she says she saw. She didn't really describe it because it was just like a quick glance. But yeah, and since that day she's believed in ghosts and regularly goes to sessions to speak with relatives that are passed on. So I think that kind of sparked that.
Fair enough. I mean, the thing that gets me is pretty much every ghost story is at night.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, definitely.
When you can hardly see anything because of lack of light, all of a sudden you can see all these other things.
Your eyes just focus on whatever moves, and it's just the fear just kind of grows on you, and it just is a lot worse at night.
I mean, I can't remember the exact percentage, but if you looked at a bush, apparently your intake of what you're seeing and what your brain processes, you're losing about, I think it's 60% of what's actually there. And it's not until you actually focus that your brain takes in that information and displays it for you to see. Because obviously your eyes don't see, your brain sees through your eyes.
And just kind of processes the light that, information that comes into it.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing. It's just like, we got like a pencil or something, like, like late at night and like just kind of like waving it around. Your eyes are trying to catch up and trying to focus. And I think that's kind of a similar situation.
Yeah, pretty much real life lag.
Indeed.
Yeah. But obviously, so is it that the dark in the dark it's spookier, or is it mainly that because your brain can't process or doesn't have to process as much information, that the slightest change in, let's say, any sense, so the atmosphere changing or your visual perception changes because of something shifting, you're able to focus on it quicker?
I mean, that's what it's like, the same as like corner of your eyes type of thing. Like you're just walking down the street late at night and something in the corner of your eye catches. And I mean, they're just genuinely quiet and just suddenly see movement. I mean, your eyes are going to suddenly focus on that because it just suddenly happened. But yeah, no, I think obviously the fear of the dark also helps, along with things materializing, as it were, late at night.
So could that be more of a natural response then? Sort of like a fight or flight? You're seeing things that may or may not be there, and your brain is in such a heightened state of survival, we'll say, that you are instantly fight or flight. Instantly noticing these things. So.
Yeah,
instantly feeling the dread. So. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, you say since when you're a kid, you're scared of the dark. I mean, my kids ask for the light to be on for that exact reason.
And they're not taught that either, though, are they?
No. It's just kind of like an instilled fear. I guess it goes back to when we were, cavemen and stuff like that, hunting, and they always did that in the day, and they always, hid in caves at night. It's kind of like an instilled natural fear.
Well, there you go then.
At least that's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's many different theories. Like, we'll probably never know, or in our lifetime we'll never know. There might be some sort of quantum ghost detector in 200 years that we find out exactly what these things are that are freaking people out. But for me, personal experiences, I've had a couple. I don't like to say that they are ghosts or spirits or people that haven't passed on yet. I don't genuinely know what these things are, and like I'd like to understand, but I don't think I ever would. So to start with, we'll go for 2 anyway. For this one, I've got more for different podcasts.
Okay. Right, so throw your first one right out there. Go on. It best be a good one.
So I was born to a single mum. She had me when she was 17, so pregnant at 16. And the first house that we lived in, it was just me and my mum up until I was about 6. So during that time, it was an old farmhouse in Tapton, which is a village in the town that we live in.
Yeah.
And it was an old farmhouse, like the building had been up for like 150 to 200 years. Obviously it's older now because I'm older, but
well, obviously, yeah, but
yeah. And the original owners of it died in tragic circumstances. So the farmer was trampled. I can't remember whether it was sheep or cows. I think it's sheep, but in my head I'm like, how can sheep trample someone? But that's what it is. And then the farmer's wife drowned her and her 2 kids in the pond at Tapton Pond. Oh, so wow. This is a true story. Like it has newspaper clippings from back in the day, like 18 something.
Yeah.
So you can actually find that this happened and it is real, and so that side of the story happened. So when I was growing up in this house, there was weird things happening, but they weren't especially happening to me, and I don't tend to have that much of a memory on it because of how young I was. I do remember certain things, like the toaster that we had kept frying, like every day. The toaster would just blow.
Was that at the same time every day, or?
It was every time my mum went to press the button, the fuse would go. So it was different plugs, different fuses. Tried a different room as well. It'd just go. We got a new toaster, thinking that it was that. Same thing happened with that. So
it definitely wasn't faulty electrics or anything like that. It just kept going.
Yeah, because obviously the TV, we did have a TV then. It was 1993, so we did have one. Yeah. Everything was in there. We had a microwave, we had a kettle, things like that. They were all fine. The toasters, for whatever reason in that house, would blow. And it would be usually the same time every morning. Another thing is that kind of freaks me out, because I have no recollection of this whatsoever, is that my mother told me that I would sit up at night and talk to the woman. I should have really asked my mum what her name was, but I can't remember at this moment in time. But I used to talk to her, and then my mum came in one day and I told her that this woman had told her that she needs to leave the house.
Oh.
Which is, again, a weird one. And
definitely,
my mum got really freaked out and called a pastor to come round and bless the whole place. And do his little, his voodoo magic.
Oh yeah, with his crosses, like, you know.
And then he said there was a portal in the house, but when it comes to things like that, I don't know whether I believe him or not. I love the supernatural side of things. I'm just not exactly a believer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you'd like there to be something, and it scares you that there might be, but as I say, you don't quite believe it.
Yeah.
As of completely.
I've pretty much just alienated half my audience, all 20 people. But yeah, so I love this side of things. I love delving into it. I love researching things. I watch a load of ghost programs, like Ghost Adventures. It's a bit cringy, but I love watching it. Things like that.
Yeah.
you know, I do love it. Supernatural's one of my all-time favourite series that's ever been out.
That's a good show. Good show.
It's an amazing show, and the whole sort of like biblical war and things like that. I love delving into it. I'm just not a believer.
No.
Which, you know, is a bit weird, but we'll get there. So, the second experience that I had, and let me just get you this YouTube video for you to watch. I'm going to play it on screen for the people that are watching this on YouTube. And for those that aren't, I will leave a link in the description for you to watch it if you are listening on through headphones, let's say, and not watching the screen. So I'm going to be playing this in the background of while we're talking about this, so you guys that are watching can watch it. There's going to be no narration like I did back in 2012. God, I can't believe this was 8 years ago. But
it's always good seeing old content.
yeah, you know, recycling old content constantly. But yeah, so up until this point, I was doing sort of like daily vlogs. I was terrible at it, just like I'm terrible at this upload schedule. But I enjoyed sort of like talking on camera, whereas now I like talking into a microphone and not on camera. But anyway, as you can see in the actual video, so I think the vlog that I put up was about 15 minutes long, and this started happening about 12 minutes into it, if I remember rightly.
Right.
So obviously the video that I'm playing now is my narration of what happened. So it was a friend of mine that lived around the corner who used to watch my vlogs and do vlogs themselves. They messaged me saying, "What the hell were you doing to your cupboard?" And I was like, what are you talking about? And then he said, "Go to this time in your video and watch that." And I was freaked out, like madly freaked out. Did not have a clue that was going off. So I was recording off of my phone, which, if I remember rightly, was it doesn't matter what phone it was anyway.
Phone's a phone, it records, webcam, everything like that anyway.
So it was and in 2012, like, the cameras were pretty decent. You'd get 720p out of them, which was perfect for YouTube. I mean, 1080 was out at that point anyway, but you know, if 720 was commendable, it was commendable. But in the reason that I was recording off that phone was because my camera that I used to use, I'd forgotten to put batteries in.
Right.
So
easy mistake.
The lighting for that video was awful. So I turned the torch on the back. So I've got the torch facing me, blinding me basically while I'm doing this update. You can probably see in my eyes, I'm you know, squinting a little bit every now and then. It's just because it was hurting my eyes. So I had no idea what was going off to the side of me. There was no corner vision just because I couldn't see anything. You know?
So you're obviously completely oblivious to this happening to the side of you.
And on top of that, I never used to write down what I was going to talk about. I used to waffle like I am now. And
best way.
I'm in an R-in, I never used to want anything to sound robotic. I always like it to be as free-flowing as I can make it. So, no idea what was going off to the side of me. Look back at it, then look at my wardrobe and think, hang on a minute, that door's never closed. So, it was weird as hell. So the left side, because my room was at a weird angle, the floorboard was at a weird angle or whatever, where that was, it's a solid oak wardrobe. Like, it took me, my dad and my mum like an hour to drag that into my bedroom. It was huge and heavy, and the doors were heavy. That door never closed properly. It always used to swing out a little bit, and at the end of that video it was completely shut, and when I checked it, it was open. So for me, that was freaky. Like, I slept downstairs for 3 nights after that. Yeah. So I was freaked out to hell. And my mum's very religious. I'm not, but she is, and so is my dad. And they started putting like crosses and stuff everywhere, all over my room. and like
Yeah,
she got her pastor to come round again and talk to me about it. And the way that he said it was, I'll always remember it, mainly because I don't believe in it. But he always said, because your family is quite religious and you're not, things like this will attach to you and target you.
Have you had anything ever like that happen since, or is it just that was like the one time? Well, obviously the second time, but
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
the kind of like last time it happened.
I've not had that since. So, a couple of years after that, because obviously I didn't notice that. That was the only time. The only reason that I noticed that was because it was recorded. Which is another thing that kind of freaked me out. Is that could have been happening for a long time. And whatever it is, or whatever it was trying to do, or whether it was just one of those things, like, that's obviously been happening, or could have happened. And it probably happened a lot of time after that.
Yeah, and it could have been happening while you were sleeping as well. I mean...
Well, this is what brings me on to my next point. So, I was going to save this for a later podcast, but I'll just repeat it anyway. So a couple of years after that, you know, I'd kind of forgotten about it. I was still in that room. I was in uni, and then coming back. Was I in uni? I'd started uni, and I was coming back. I was coming back on weekends. Anyway, so I started to go through a very, very horrific period of sleep paralysis. Like, every single morning at that house, I couldn't move.
Ooh.
I was waking up, but I couldn't move, and I couldn't open my eyes. And it felt like, I know it was blood pressure going through my ears, but it almost felt like someone, or not someone, but like there was a fan next to both my ears and just constantly. There was no like breath in between or anything like that. It was just a constant like wind on both sides. And it did freak me out to start with. And then eventually, like after a bit, I was fine. You know, I just, ride it out. And then one day, I don't know how or why, but I opened my eyes during it.
Okay.
And I put it down to hallucination. My brain had woken up, my body hadn't, and because I opened my eyes, I'd given my brain something to process, something to do, some reason for why it was happening, and the ergo hallucination. So what I saw was a very, very dark figure pushing on my chest.
Oh, you've had that as well.
Oh, did you?
I've had that.
I literally asked you at the start of this.
No, to be fair,
anything creepy?
At the start of this, you mentioned ghosts. Sleep paralysis demons are an entirely different spectrum of things.
Well, do we know that? They could just be ghosts.
I mean, people tend to kind of split, ghosts and sleep paralysis demons too. But I've had a similar experience to that actually.
Oh.
It was actually at my old flat. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but yeah, same kind of situation as you. Just kind of, woke up middle of the night, and it wasn't quite on my chest, but it was just like sitting at the side of the bed, like back to me, everything like that. And obviously my eyes opened up, processed, obviously fixated on this figure, which, I was like obviously panicking at that point, couldn't move, completely paralysed. And then it just suddenly turned around on chest, screamed at me, and then disappeared. And I woke up in a panic, and I just couldn't go back to sleep after that. It was probably the scariest thing I've actually had in my entire life.
Yeah, it's freaky as hell. And so for me, it was on my chest. And when I read sort of these creepypastas where they say black eyes, or dark circles where their eyes should have been. That's the bit that freaks me out on them, and that's the bit that's creepy for me. Is because I literally saw nothing in those eyes, or where the eyes should be. It was just empty. It was pitch black. There's nothing there. As
like a lifeless husk.
just a void of nothingness there, and that's what freaked me out. So that only happened in that room.
Okay.
I didn't have it when I was living at uni. I didn't have it when I was living at my old house, and I haven't had it living at this house. So the only times, other than the sort of earlier childhood stage, the only time that I've ever experienced anything is at that house, or that I know of.
Yeah.
So
It could have happened multiple times afterwards, but you just kind of slept through it, type of thing, or just completely just took it out of your memory.
yeah, I mean, the fact, again, I don't know whether my brain's trying to protect me on certain things. Maybe I'm exaggerating how bad it is or how bad it was, but I don't know because I don't remember.
Yeah, I think your brain does naturally just, any bad memories, it kind of, it remembers.
It's trauma,
It tucks them away, yeah. And then eventually post-traumatic, PTSD, that's what that's all about, isn't it? So
yeah, when it can't. Which is that you get triggered, something triggers it, and then your brain can't protect what it's trying to protect. But yeah, I genuinely don't know. The only reason I know that the cupboard thing happened was because it was recorded. Like cemented in time, let's say.
Yeah.
Many people have seen it. A friend of mine once told me the more you go on about it and talk about it, like the worse it can get for you. Now,
okay,
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for 1 second. But I don't know what these things are. I don't know whether there was an explanation for my cupboard. I don't know whether I was dreaming when I was having sleep paralysis. I know full well I had sleep paralysis, but I might have been dreaming about sleep paralysis at that time that it happened.
Yeah, you just don't know, do you? It's, when I say that kind of thing, I mean...
But it's weird how it happens to multiple people like yourself.
Yeah, that exact figure, yeah. As I say, as soon as you describe it, it's like, hang on a minute, that sounds very familiar.
There you go, just a different circumstance, just a different placement, and it could have been that, these things need to build up to be on top of you, or whatever. Like, I have spoken to a couple of people that have gone through the same thing.
Yeah.
And now you're added onto that. And a lot have described similar things. One's described someone at the end of the room. One's described someone at the bottom of the bed. You've described someone at the side of your bed. And another one has described exactly what I described. On top of the chest, pushing down. Yeah, I didn't have the scream. But then again, I had a lot of the pressure that I was talking about in my ears. I couldn't hear anything.
No,
so
it was just like a visual treat, let's say.
Yeah.
Well, not a treat, but
So, completely screwed up, and maybe the brain's to blame for all this. Maybe it is. So, I think we've definitely gone over on the time that I wanted to spend talking about personal experiences, but it's been an emotional one.
Oh yeah, it's like there was a literal roller coaster, up and down moments. It's just
should have remembered something that he should have remembered earlier.
Well, as I said previously, you mentioned ghosts, you didn't mention sleep paralysis demons. Entirely different beast.
Well, which brings us perfectly onto our next topic that I wanted to discuss in this one, which is theories. So I don't know whether you want to go first. I'm quite excited about this one.
You go first, and I'll see if I can, conjure up a theory as you're talking along.
Conjure one up, right? So I've got 3. One is, two. I think I've read, and kind of made up my sort of implications on it and how I want it to be. One, I don't know whether I've heard it before. I must have done, because there's no way that I could come up with something this elaborate. I'm too thick. But which is a time loop theory. So please, if somebody else has mentioned this and I've just heard it on one of the many ghost shows that I've watched and forgotten about, and then all of a sudden it's popped into my head. I think, oh, that's an amazing idea. Then let me know in the comments. All right. So time loop theory. So everybody thinks that time is linear, right?
Right.
What if it's not?
Right, so it's like multiple tangents kind of going off in multiple different directions.
Just spaghetti. Spaghetti junction. So
carry on.
So where I saw, I'll use my example. Where I saw supposedly saw a woman in the first house we ever lived in, and she told me to tell my mum to get out. What if I was talking to her in her own time while she was alive?
So like you were the corporal figure in a sense.
I was the ghost to her.
It is at the time loop kind of like multi-universe theory then, by the sounds of it.
Not multi-universe. Same universe, just different time.
Just different timeline.
Yeah. So,
right.
In theory, you have aggressive spirits that throw things around. Could we not be ghosts to them, as they are ghosts to us?
Interesting theory. I mean, you've got different planes of existence if you believe all that kind of stuff, so it's probably not a far-fetched idea that the plane of existence will be just a different timeline.
Yeah, time is a man-made concept. Time happens, but we have created time, in essence. You know, a fox doesn't know that it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun
just goes from when the sun sets and when the sun rises and sun sets.
Exactly. So, I mean, can time go slower or quicker depending on if it's actually measured? You know,
I mean,
in a religious sense, I don't think God said, I'm going to make the world at 3 a.m. You know.
Well, I'd say it'd be probably like a wild drunken night after that, I would have thought.
Exactly. So that's kind of one of my theories. So it's a time that's overlapping, and there's a thin veil between it. So we do live in houses that are hundreds of years old, especially in England anyway. There's a lot of old houses.
Yeah, it's a solid theory, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Have you got one?
No, you've got two more to speak about. Carry on.
Oh, right,
Hang on.
okay.
This is your okay, keep going.
Second one is our visual limitations. So I sort of touched on it earlier, saying that the brain sees through the eyes. So our brain can only factor in so much information at one time unless we focus, and then that's what we're focusing on. So visual limitations, when it comes to the colour spectrum, some animals can see more colours than what we can. So what's to say that there is or isn't a creature that is a certain shade that we can't see?
Going by the what's that film called, where it's the invisible monsters and stuff, and if you look at them or something, they take you, that kind of deal, or just
kind of, except for obviously you get scratches and things, or people claim to have been scratched by spirits. Could it not be that these creatures are residing there and they're the ones that are scratching you, try and make you leave?
Potentially. I mean, maybe on the same basis as your previous theory with the time loop and stuff. Maybe it's just a offset of that.
Yeah,
maybe.
Doesn't have to be a dead person. It could be an actual living thing that we just can't see. And maybe at night it's easier to see them because light doesn't reflect off them as much. So maybe in certain shades we can actually see.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a good theory as well.
It's an alright theory.
There's so many unknowns about the natural environment and stuff that it's very possible there is a creature which we cannot see normally.
I mean, it's completely off topic, but we've only discovered about 5% of the ocean, if that.
Yeah.
So
I say we are discovering more, but as I say, it is a very small, minute thing because the ocean's a big place.
Exactly, but we discover we discover more and more species every day on land and in water. So what's to say that it's just something that we've not discovered and that we can't see?
As I say, I hold my opinions on that one because, but it's a true unknown, really, that is. But no, I say that it's it would be unfeasible to think that there isn't a creature that is invisible and that we don't know about. It's very much possible. It's like life in other planets and stuff.
Would it be classed as invisible just because we can't see it?
But class is invisible to us.
Yeah, but other things might be able to see it.
Like poltergeists and stuff.
Yeah, in theory, that imagine in 30 years they've discovered that these are actually creatures, and poltergeist you just call pest control.
What, called a Ghostbusters?
Well, it's just pest control. They come out and then they put on some fancy goggles, and they can see some little thing that scratches and throws stuff around and eats your food.
It's like, right, you've got a gigantic ghost mouse problem here, right, let's get that sorted.
Yeah,
right, come on, team.
That's what I mean, but imagine that could be a possibility. I think they'd be more intelligent than just like jumping around and being like a mouse. Just because of the way they act.
Obviously, yeah. No, yeah, of course, because they say they can be destructive and stuff like that, so...
and some apparently can be nice.
Casper, friendly ghost.
Exactly. Casper, my boy. Casper is my village.
Oh boy. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Is he dead again?
He's died many deaths.
Yeah, exactly. So, third one and final one from me. Energy transfer.
Right.
Energy,
okay. So what's the basis on this one?
Energy cannot be created nor can it be destroyed.
Basic physics.
If you do the same thing all day, every day, or at least a repetitive amount of times. Let's say in Victorian days, John walked 3 miles to work every day and 3 miles back. 100 years later, after his death, and he'd been doing that for like 60 years, let's say. I mean, he'd be very, very well off for 60 years in Victorian times, but we'll not go there. So
that's another topic for another day.
Yeah. So he was doing that every day for 30, 40 years. 100 years later, there's a road put there. Cars are driving down. Oh my god, I see something at the side of the road walking. Have a look, and then it's disappeared.
So it's like he's continued on after he's died, just continuing doing the same, like just routine.
Yeah, he's either he's left behind energy, and the energy's just built up over the years that he was doing it, because it can't be destroyed, nor can it be created, and it just follows the routine over and over and over again. So instead of it being his consciousness that's there doing those things, it's just all of a sudden we can see big masses of energy, at certain points, walking, doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Basically what you're saying is the energy has memory, in a sense, and it's just living those memories out.
In essence, yeah. That's a way of looking at it.
In essence, though, good pun. I like it.
Yeah, I'll try.
Good. But yeah, no, that's well, as I say, the only scientists might be able to explain if that was an actual proper thing. But yeah,
well, I don't
just driving down like a country road or something. Obviously, as you say, it's been built. You see this, figure of a man, which is, as you say, is just pure energy, going down the path, and then that's the thing. If it's walking down the path, why would it just suddenly disappear?
How do you mean? Sorry. How?
So is he saying, obviously, you catch it in the corner of your eye, obviously you see this figure of a man, this energy walking down the road, you stop because you're like, oh, what? There's someone walking down the road. You look back and it's not there. I mean,
well, that's what I mean. You can't. You can and you can't see energy. You can see energy forms. So let's say a fire. You can see a fire. You can't see the energy that's coming off of it, but you can feel it. You can see the light that's coming off of it.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So you can't see it, but let's say I think John was a bad example, mainly for the fact that he's one person. So when there's been a horrific, I wouldn't say accident, something horrific's happened.
Catastrophe.
Yeah, a catastrophe. It could be a small scale catastrophe or a big scale catastrophe. You can tell I'm struggling to say catastrophe, can't you? So it could be,
but he's a massive catastrophe or small.
Something
big,
where
big
a lot of energy has been needed to do that. So a mass shooting, a lot of energy has been put into it and been gone. Like, sometimes some people say that they see like ex-serial killers and things like that. The ghost of so and so. I think I am clutching at straws here, but
I think this is probably the least of your theories. But as I say, if going with the mass serial route, I mean, just their pure unadulterated hatred is what sticks around, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that hatred is like a more powerful energy than what a good energy would be, but maybe because it might be denser. Maybe energy works like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's not something that I'm an expert in, and I probably sound like an idiot right now, and I'm trying not to.
I'd say there's this one where you have like glasses on a clipboard or something. It's like, right, I'm trying to explain this to you. Please sign my paper. Don't walk away.
Like the end of a paper for uni. Just like, and in my expert opinion. waffle.
Like, really? Like, really?
Yeah.
F.
For anyone still listening right now, I did forewarn you that I would waffle. So
it is true. It's about 12 minutes in, I think you mentioned waffle. I
will waffle a lot. But anyway, if energy's been doing something over and over and over again, or a mass amount of energy has been expelled for whatever reason, I believe that energy stays there and maybe retains some memory.
Yeah, well, I'd say that could probably go into another theory, actually. Planes of existence and stuff like that. Limbo and being able to pass on to the other world and stuff. I mean, it's what the theory of that is. It's like if you just feel like you've not accomplished everything in your life, you kind of regret things you've done, everything like that. Your corporal spirit kind of sticks around.
Yeah.
And kind of like haunts the place until that wish is fulfilled. I think many TV shows kind of go into that play and everything. But yeah, as I say, with obviously that theory of, masses of energy and stuff, it could fit quite well into that theory, the plane of existence and stuff.
Yeah, it could. I mean, if that's your theory, I'm very disappointed.
No, that's a theory I'm sticking with. I mean, that's a tried theory. That's a theory that's been going around for ages.
Tried and tested.
I've tried and tested. I don't know if it's complete. Well, we don't know if it's true. I mean, your theories, I say that I've really got nothing for you. Apart from planes of existence, I've got nothing for you. And as I say, ghosts stick around for a number of reasons. And the reasons why we see ghosts is probably based on, what we feel at the time, emotional stance. It could literally be, a figment of our imagination, for all we know. But with your time loop theory, that honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Theory based on, with parallel timelines, kind of like just mixing and matching. I mean, that does make a lot of sense. So, in terms of the theories that have been said, that's probably the most solid one.
I honestly hope to God that it is a theory that I magicked up in my brain, and not something that someone else has said, because I genuinely can't remember. I really can't remember. So I think with that then, obviously this is getting to about 40 minutes. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed it. I don't know what else we'll talk about in regards to ghosts. So do you want to leave it there?
I think that's probably a good place to leave it off. I mean, definitely a decent length. Would be waffling for a while. So
I've waffled too long. So yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I don't know when we're going to upload these. I don't know how often Jordan will be able to do these given his own work requirements and family. Whether they'll let him off the chain anyway. The same for myself, really. Yeah. I don't know whether you guys know, but in about 10 days I'm expecting my first child. So maybe a bit lacking on the uploads when it comes to that point. I don't know. It depends how much I want to get killed.
And then he will soon find out about the wonders of childhood.
I mean, I ain't scared of no ghosts, but I'm scared of that baby. So I want to do these sort of like once a month. If you enjoy them, please leave a like, leave a comment saying what you enjoyed about it, anything that you disliked about it. Let me know any improvements. I mean, this is the first time that I'm doing one of these things. I don't know about Jordan, but
it is definitely the first time I'm doing one of these things as well. So we'll see the results.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do a podcast, so I thought this would be the perfect time. So anyway, thank you to those who have listened to me waffle, and Jordan belittle me all this time.
I just going, yeah, okay, yeah, and then you got my words in there every now and then. So
100%. Thanks for listening, and take care.